Chelsea won, Arsenal won. In terms of a result, I'm happy to get a draw at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea have always been a decent team. They've always been a good team. It's always been difficult for Arsenal to get a result at Stamford Bridge, but for us to get a point with all things being considered, I'm happy about that, all right? Because Chelsea are a good team. They're one of the big four. They've played very well, especially over the last year or so. Yes, they've had bad performances here and there, but a draw is a draw. We got a point. We just got to move on from it. But in terms of as a performance, that was diabolical. I did not like so many things I've seen today. Yes, Saliba wasn't playing. Yes, we had to play Hincapié and Mosquera, and it was a big test for them. And we had to see what would happen if Gabriel and Saliba were both injured, because that's always going to be a possibility. There's always going to be a chance where both of them may be injured and we have to rely on our bench. And today, I thought Hincapié and Mosquera, especially in that first half, were just all over the place. Chelsea were all over Arsenal. They had their tactics down to a T. They were making life extremely difficult for Arsenal, and if they had 11 players on the pitch, they would have beaten Arsenal. I'm very I'm very confident that they would have done it. And Caicedo, what the hell was that tackle? It was a deserved red card. Mikel Merino is a warrior. Today, that guy should be happy that his ankle didn't get snapped in half from that tackle, and that was a deserved red card from Caicedo. That play acting that he tried to do was tragic. Honestly, it was just so tragic, and I just got a better move on for that. I mean, I've seen so many things in the media about Caicedo saying he might join Arsenal, blah blah, this and that, and just absolute nonsense. But back to the game, right? Majority of the ball that Arsenal had, in terms of their 62% of possession, was in their own half. It was literally passing around the defenders and being unable to get the ball forward. I felt bad for our attackers today. Saka only came to life in the second half, and even from him, I thought he had a bad game. I thought that there were so many times he had the ball, and yes, he got the cross in to get Merino the goal. However, other than that, in terms of his shots, it was all wayward. Some of the dribblings that he was able to do wasn't the best. He got Cucurella on a yellow card, but he wasn't able to take him on more enough. And in terms of like him being on the left and Madueke coming on and playing on the right, Madueke played a lot worse on the right hand side, which is a bit of a surprise to me, because I thought Madueke was doing really well, but I don't know how you could do even more badly. And I wasn't happy with what I've seen, especially on the right hand side of the pitch. In terms of our midfield, Declan Rice, yet again, great performance from him. He was putting those defensive masterclasses. He was helping out that defense like their life dependent on it. He probably saved about 10 goals for Arsenal. I kid you not, because I thought Hincapié today and Mosquera, their combination was just not on it. And I know that they haven't played as many games together, but still you want something like a minimum standard there, and they just looked all over the place. Whenever we when we played out of the back, it just wasn't going forward at all. We weren't able to pass the ball forward, and I thought that a big component of that, and somebody that is going to go unheard of, is Zubimendi. Zubimendi today, I thought, was bad. Some of his passes were wayward, some of his positioning was bad. The reason why we couldn't play out the back, right, was because our midfielders weren't there to collect the ball to get it forward. And that is why I was really happy to see Martin Odegaard come on the pitch, because when he did that, he did the one thing that the other midfielders should have done, which was to collect the ball and drag it forward. Because when you're not able to play it out from the back, then you need some help from your midfielders. And Zubimendi, I thought, should have done a lot more, and it was a deserved substitution. And it's been a couple of games now where Zubimendi hasn't really been playing to the most highest of standards, especially against Tottenham Hotspur. You can talk about Bayern a bit, but for me, I don't think he's been playing that well. Eze, as well as he's done against Tottenham Hotspur, today he was non-existent. I don't blame him in the fact that we barely got the ball forward, but I felt like he should have dropped deep a little bit more, and when it came down to it, he got subbed off, and it was a deserved substitution, because let's be honest, today he was non-existent. And we can talk about Timber and Gyökeres, and when Gyökeres came on, it was back to being his clunky self, and maybe he could have got that goal, and if buts, maybes, and this and that, but at the end of the day, we didn't. And for me, if I were to look at that entire pitch, the two players that really could go their heads held high is probably Martin Odegaard when he came on, and Mikel Merino. The rest, I just wasn't really convinced, and especially with Marzavishvili, when he came on, it took a while for him to get more into the game. It was a much better showing compared to Bayern Munich. However, he was losing the ball in bad positions, and it was only towards like the last 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that's when he was starting to get into the groove of the game. And especially with Martinelli, when he was starting on the pitch, especially with Trossard being injured for God knows how long, I thought he was just okay. He wasn't really doing too much. It was just a sound performance. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. Hopefully Saliba comes back, because we see how much of a drop off this team goes through, especially if Saliba and Gabriel are injured, or if one of them isn't playing. I know a lot of people have played Mosquera, and a lot of people have praised Hincapié as well. But the thing is that when Saliba and Gabriel aren't there, that's when we get to see their true quality. What are they going to do when both of them are not there and they're by themselves on the pitch? And yes, they haven't been in the team as long, but you still want more from these sorts of players, even if they are guys that are coming off the bench and depth options and blah blah blah. Today I thought our defense, especially between Hincapié and Mosquera, was just all over the place. I thought our structures were all over the place. I thought even when the attack did get the chances to make forward runs and dribbles and just do some regular attacking play, it was poor. I didn't like what I was seeing. As a result, I'm happy to get a draw at Stamford Bridge. We're 5 points clear off the top. We'll play Brentford next Wednesday. However, in terms of as a performance, that was very, very poor. You can put it down to Saliba and Gabriel not being there and blah blah blah. However, if the defense isn't doing too well, then you need other players to help them out a bit more. I thought Rice was doing that. I thought Martin Odegaard was doing that. However, the defenders need to help themselves, and Arsenal, even with a red card on their side, were lucky to get away with it, which is mad, and that is unforgivable in my opinion. And just because of that, Arsenal should have got more from this game. But what can we do? We move on, and credit to Chelsea for getting the goal, especially from a set piece, ironically enough, and we just gotta move on now to Brentford. Anyhow, that's the end of this video. Please like and subscribe. Not a good performance at all, but we gotta move on. Anyhow, peace.